Vasistha continued. Then I became the air element by Vayu-dharana, contemplation of oneself as wind. I taught the grass, leaves, creepers and straw the art of dancing. Wafting cool breeze, I became the dear friend of young ladies. At the same time I was dreaded for my heat wave, hurricane and tornadoes. In pleasure gardens I carried sweet scent. In hell I carried sparks of fire. My motion was so fast that people considered mind and wind to be brothers. I flowed with the waters of the holy Ganga, and it would have been tiresome, but I was happy that we were able to relieve the tiresomeness and fatigue of others. I assisted space by carrying sound waves, and therefore I came to be known as the dear friend of space. Air is very close to space. Air is very intangible, and in our everyday experience it can be almost identified with space. I dwelt in the vital organs of all beings. I knew the secrets of fire. Fire doesn't exist without air. And I was also known as the friend of the fire. I was operating the body machine and all embodied living beings by being their life breath. Hence I became their friend and their enemy at the same time. So the air is more essential, more vital even, and more subtle than the other elements. It's closer to us, more intimate to us than the other elements. Though I stood in front of all, I could not be perceived by any. During the cosmic dissolution I could lift huge mountains and hurl them as I pleased. As the air I performed 6 functions: gathering into a mass, drying up, upholding or supporting, vibrating or causing motion, conveying scent and cooling. I was dedicated to the task of building and destroying bodies. Air also decomposes things, doesn't it? When the archaeologists discover some ancient body or artifact, if it's not been protected from the air, then it will have decomposed. So it's the life force, but also that by which things decompose. Being the element air, I perceived within each molecule of air a whole universe. In each of those universes I again saw all the elements, etc., as in this universe. They were not real existences, they were but notions that arise in the cosmic void or space. So he perceived within each molecule of air a whole universe, the birth, the life and death of each universe. In this contemplation of the elements, Vasistha is arriving at the heart of things, at the essence of things. And it's in that essence that universes arise and dissolve, or notions of universes arise and dissolve. We could take this contemplation further and look at the current scientific knowledge about this. Instead of air, we can take this contemplation into space, as was hinted at earlier. I think most people probably think of space as nothing. But the current scientific understanding is there's a lot going on in that so-called vacuum of space. There's a whole lot of stuff going on in that apparent nothingness. The universe is supposed to have something called a background radiation, which was left over from the Big Bang. So everywhere we never quite get to absolute zero. There's always this vibration which takes the form of a few degrees of heat. So you never get to absolute zero. There's always some activity going on, no matter how remote or how empty the space is. This is sometimes called the vacuum energy or the 0 point energy, and depending on which scientific theory you follow, it can be a very small amount of energy, or each point of space of the vacuum can have an infinite amount of energy. or massive amount of energy. In fact, the massive amount of energy is so strong that its gravitational pull would pull the whole universe into one molecule. Not only is this background radiation, but apparently matter, as we understand it, only accounts for 5% of the universe. 25% of it is this stuff called dark matter. Another 70% of it is something called dark energy. So most of this universe is dark energy, which might be this background radiation or other stuff, which we don't know. We don't know what it is yet. But apparently this dark matter, we're surrounded by it. It's all around us, going through us, but it's not been detected yet. So this dark matter, which is more than ordinary matter, we seem to be composed more of dark matter than ordinary matter, but it's not been detectable. I often have a little laugh at the idea that, given enough time, a limited variety of molecules will develop into all of life, including us, with our awareness. But physics isn't about particles, it's about forces and fields which are invisible. And all of space, again, is also permeated by something called Higgs fields, the Higgs ocean. These fields have energy even at absolute zero. So there's always something going on. There's no such thing as empty space. And when you start looking into matter, it becomes very wave-like and immaterial. In those worlds too, there were gods and the planets, mountains and oceans, and the illusory notions of birth, old age and death. This is within every molecule. I roamed all these realms to my heart's content. Countless types of beings like the celestials and the sages rested on my body like so many flies and mosquitoes. By my leave they obtained their various forms and colours. They derived immense pleasure when I touched them, but they could not see me. Though the netherworlds were my feet, the earth my abdomen, and the heavens my head, even then I did not abandon my subatomic nature. So Vasistha here is the cosmic person. And his subatomic nature is that which is fundamental and indivisible. I was spread in all directions everywhere at all times, and I did everything. I was the self of all. I was all. He's Brahman. This is Brahman. Yet I was pure void. I experienced being something and being nothing. The formless state has also form, while retaining awareness of all this, as well as being unaware of these. There are times you enter into unawareness. There are countless such universes as the one that I experienced. Just as a man dreams that he dreams countless objects, I experienced universes within every atom and universes within the atoms of those universes. I myself became all these universes, and though I was the self of all and I pervaded all these, I did not so envelop all these. These are but words, even as are there is heat and fire. Heat and fire does not convey heat. It gives us an idea, a notion. And Vasistha is describing the ocean of notions within which we are awash.